Well, believe it or not, at one point, your favorite comics sucked.
Everybody's arms are crossed.
At the beginning, we're all supposed to suck.
Yo,
Got my one-liner.
what's more American than failing?
Feel my weekend game has turned into a one-nighter.
I thought the set went well.
The guy in the second row will get off his cell phone.
There is no God. Strike me down now.
Yeah.
The tables in the back are digging my dick jokes.
That's what comedy's about, man. It's about bombing. And I was like, no, it's not. Like, that's not what you want.
They give me the sign, I give them my closer.
I'm just over 500 with good shows versus bad shows.
Just enough to get in the playoffs.
I hit the punchline.
All right, this is a good episode.
Fuck it.
Long story short,
He failed. God damn it. Yes,
Wait.
misery loves company, my boy.
thanks for coming out. Boom.
Thanks for coming out, baby. Thanks for coming out.
Hey.
Thanks for coming out. Are we under attack?
Thanks for coming out. Fuck, that bad?
Thanks for coming out. Amen. Thanks for coming out.
I can't even watch.
Yeah, all that was unprofessional.
Thanks for coming out, ladies and gentlemen. The bomb is the bomb, and it will always be that. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of Thanks for Coming Out, a podcast about bombing. I'm Shuli, joined by my co-host, Mr. James Mattern, the best in the biz. And
bombing.
Well, listen,
That's why I'm here.
that's why you're as good as you are, because you went through the stages like we all do. And joining us, great comic. I've known him for years in New York. One of these comics that you just, whenever he goes up on stage, you stop what you're doing, you go and you watch, because it's always going to go somewhere and it's always funny. Joining, thanks for coming out. Please welcome Mr. Sean Patton. Sean, how are you, pal?
I'm good, man. That was such a nice intro, and you got to the point where I'm like, he's right. It does go somewhere.
It does. It does.
But where? You know?
It may not always go where we want it to, but it's got to start somehow, right?
No, it doesn't. Yeah, I mean, it's like, bombing is the seltzer in every mixed drink. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of necessary. Otherwise, you're just having straight booze, and who needs that?
I think we just got our first T-shirt for the show, first merch item.
Yeah, there it is.
Sean, how long you been doing stand-up? When did you start? How old were you, and where did you start?
So on October 3rd, just this past year, 2021, I made 20 years.
Congrats, buddy.
Mazel, baby. Mazel.
I know, did it. And I started, October 3rd, 2001, New Orleans, Louisiana. You know, a city just known for its burgeoning comedy scene.
There's no club there, right?
There's no club. And the truth is, unless it was like a local, unless it was someone from there or someone who loved the city so much that they've lived there for some time and understood how it works, and they had the money and time to open a club, there will never be a successful comedy club in New Orleans. It's just the competition. People go to New Orleans. They don't. I mean, first of all, any business is going to try and cater to the tourists, and tourists don't go to New Orleans for comedy. They go for all the other.
Well, it's similar to Vegas, which is options. Options are your enemy in a town like New Orleans, a town like Vegas. And by the way, no clubs in New Orleans. I don't know when's the last time you were there. There's no goddamn law and order in New Orleans.
I mean, that's part of it. Well, but Vegas is at least known for entertainment. Whereas like New Orleans is known for music, and people love going to see live music in New Orleans. But live music, live music, you don't have to be paying. Live music's like baseball; you don't have to be paying attention the whole time.
That's right. That's right.
Especially with all due respect to Frenchman Street, where people are just playing Django Reinhardt for 45 minutes straight.
Yeah, it's like I've seen some amazing live music shows in New Orleans, and I also know there were 25 to 50-minute gaps in those shows where I was doing shots and shouting something at like a friend, like comedy can be a little bit too, but it works. It works in New Orleans. It's a fantastic city for comedy because if a club there would have to cater to the locals, right? And the locals are comprised of service industry with master's degrees, college kids, and like working class like artists. Like
there is an audience there. It's just
it's great. I love doing stand up there. I'm so glad I started there because it was all about the craft. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely, it's the same
was
thing
no
with
industry.
us. There wasn't big crowds. There was you had to earn every single laugh you got, and if you can make 12 people laugh in a room that holds 100, then you can make 100 people laugh easy. It's a no brainer.
In a room that holds 12.
Well, that's
You know,
right.
it's like,
That's
what
right.
the hell are we doing in this room? You know? But no, it's awesome. But I was there for years, man. We were there for, I honestly, like, when I was starting out in New Orleans, if you were good at comedy, which was even by that standard, then, like, how do we know?
Right.
But you got up maybe 7 times a month.
A month.
And we thought that was enough. When you'd have 2 spots in a week, you were like, man, I'm fucking grinding. You know?
You're like, I'm a comic. I'm
You're
a comic,
people.
dude.
You're
Yeah.
like, dude, I got an open mic downtown, and then I got asked to close out this open mic in Baton Rouge.
Yeah.
An hour and
Which is
20-minute
out
drive.
way.
Yeah.
Yeah, for us, we didn't even have the mics to go to. We had to start our own to get stage time, and we had shows all over Vegas just so we can go up and bomb in front of 17 people that are losing their mortgage payment at a video poker machine. You know, it's
That is the funny thing about performing in Vegas, is that feeling of like, oh wait, I got to make these people forget about what they have to go back to.
yeah.
If anything, you know.
And guess what? I watch people walk out on Carlin. It's impossible to do when your life is fucked and it's in the shitter and you've lost your last fucking dime. No bit that George Carlin spits out is gonna make anything better. Nothing.
Well, especially late era Carlin, where he's like,
Yeah.
they've been taking your money since you were for 40 years now. You've been too blind when he went into full, like,
Yo,
you know.
How about when he was working out that material of if there is a God, strike me down now? Could you imagine him in Vegas? I mean, he clearly probably did it at Bally's or wherever he was working at one point. So now people have pissed away all their money. And they realize they have to go home, and the kid has no tuition money, and all they have is Jesus and God to get him through. And then they're like, "We'll see Carlin, and then we'll pack up and leave." And Carlin's like, "There is no God. Strike me down now." I mean, could you imagine how that fucking goes over with these people?
He got in trouble. He got in trouble out there because he started doing a whole rap about. Remember when the Iraq thing first started, and they just started beheading people out there that they would catch. And he came out on stage and he was just like, fuck it. You're going to get beheaded. Like, I don't give a shit. And people are just like, all right, thank you. They're just getting them. He's like, hey, if you got to put on a gun to go to work, there's a chance you might get your head cut off.
Have fun with your Keno numbers.
Yeah.
7, 31, and 15 will work.
Anyone getting a light up yo-yo during this bit? Go ahead.
But you're all right. Tonight's your night.
Right.
That's what I do, actually, because Vegas has, the Cellars out there, and there's a bunch of clubs there now.
Yes.
And what I love about Vegas is it's this game show of, like, which side does the audience lean tonight?
Yeah, that's hilarious.
It's fucking fun sometimes where you get out there and you're like, you'll look at them and you'll be like, I don't know, man, this looks like a bunch of denim clad fucking right, and then you get out there and they're, nope, you're completely wrong. They're fucking great. And then you'll go out there one night and you're looking like, oh man, look at these people are all tatted up and fucking
This is
pierced
my
up.
people.
And,
I'm in
here we go. And then it's like, oh, I didn't read what those tattoos said.
Right.
They were all fucking QAnon tats. Shit. Like,
it's so true, because no matter what the name of the club is on the marquee, you're not getting a comedy club audience in a casino. You're getting a casino crowd where a lot of them are being gifted this ticket. They have nothing invested in the show. They have no money out of their pocket. So the tendency to sit back and judge is much greater than to laugh. They're not invested.
Yeah, man. But that's like what's the let's see, because fuck, what's that club? It's in the Stardome. Is that a place that exists now? The Strat.
Yeah, LA Comedy Club.
Yeah, I feel like I did a spot there once. Oh no, let me rephrase that. I got invited to come to a show when I was in Vegas in 2000. I think
I see where this is going right away, and I can't wait to hear it all.
It was maybe like 2011. I was opening for Tom Arnold.
Okay.
At the New Orleans.
Is that, when you're backstage with him, is that just like watching a bullet ricochet off of every wall nonstop?
No. When you're backstage with him, it's him and his 3 besties from high school who are all like, it's like they drank some sort of Kool-Aid where they're like, I mean, Tom's the most famous, funny person on earth, right? You're lucky to be here with him. And you're like,
It's like hype man.
Sure, man. Yeah. It's weird because they're all like his age at the time, you know, in his probably early 50s, you know, all dressed the same, all just like, man, Tom's just so goddamn amazing, right? I mean, listen to him, and you're listening to like him just telling kind of half-ass stories about living with Roseanne Barr for 20 years or whatever. And he's like, man, he's great. We're going to go to Nobu after this. I'm like, okay, like, I see what this is.
So it's like a poor man's Sinatra.
Yeah.
Instead of three guys named Benny,
dude.
it's just three guys named Bob.
It's a three guys named Bob. Yeah, Bob, Robert, and Bobby.
James, you hit it right on the head. He travels with his own hype man.
It's
You
with
know,
his
he's got a
own, yeah.
hype team. That's so
with
great.
an entourage he's known since, you know, before entourages existed.
Three Jimmy Harts.
But like, yeah, like, and then like, but so I got invited. I wish I could fucking remember this fucking guy's name. He was a Vegas guy, Jason, big guy, balding head, bigger guy, round.
Jay?
No, he used to come out to New York quite a bit.
Oh,
And-
Jason Harris.
Yes.
I actually did a walk with him during the pandemic.
Jason Harris. So it was him. He was at one of those shows, and I had met him doing spots in New York, and when he was here,
Mhm.
and he invited me to it. I believe it was at that club before it was a club. So
Sounds
I
about
go,
right.
so I go assuming like, oh, I guess I'm doing a guest spot, right?
Yeah.
And I get there, it's like, no, that's not the case at all. He just invited me, and I'm like as a guest to watch, and I'm like,
Oy.
this is fucking weird, but fine. And I watched all these, like every comic was just like the caricature of what they, you know what I'm saying? So like they had
Sure.
the Indian guy come out and just be like,
No.
you know, I was going to go to medical school, but this instead. Then you had the Asian comic, and then you had like, and then you had the one guy go up who you could tell was like really trying to be a stand-up, and they were just like, nope, not having this.
And he got nothing while
Got
the other ones were
nothing.
killing.
No, everybody else was murdering.
That's the worst.
And
goes,
poor
"Oh, you're the
Sean,
only
poor,
Yeah.
poor Sean sitting in the audience. He could do better than all of them. And now it's like when I was working at Burger King, my buddy would be like, you want to eat something here? I go, I don't eat here. This is fucking Burger King. Why would I eat here? I barely stomach making this shit. Now you got to sit there and watch this awful talent show. Oh,
I mean, well, he did at some point. I remember he was like, do you want to go on? And I was like, sure. And he was like, now we don't have room. And I remember like
for a
being like,
working
did you
comic.
know that information already before you came? I always felt like, I don't know how he is now, but I felt like back then he had this like adversarial thing with me where I was like, are you mad at me for something? Did I not? Because people sometimes come to New York and like are like, hey man, we did shows together in, you know, Cleveland or we, you know, somewhere in Ohio or the rest of the country, and you're like, oh cool, great. And then it's like, oh wait, do you want me to open up every door I've worked my ass off
right.
to
And
open
not-
for myself?
And not only that, like,
Yeah.
listen, we're on the road in Ohio. Like,
Yeah.
odds are I'm completely wasted after this show to numb the pain.
Yeah.
And maybe I don't remember every single fucking joke that you told. Maybe I don't remember the conversation we had backstage in the kitchen green room. Like, what do you want? What do you want? You know?
Yeah, that's the thing. Like if I have a genuine connection with someone on the road and I make an honest, like, hey, when you're in New York, hit me up.
yeah.
That's one thing. I'll always do good by that. But like, yeah, just sometimes you get messages from people where it's like, okay, you're coming to New York, guy I met in Huntsville or you know, Orlando or whatever, and like they're coming to New York. I'm like, cool. And I'll, you know, be like, here's some people you should email. And then they'll always hit me with the like, do you think you can give me a guest spot at the Cellar? I'm like, no.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah, there are people I know with TV credits or who are active parts of television programs that I couldn't get a guest spot at the Cellar. You understand?
Like, I
Yeah.
love the DM that's like, hey, I don't know if you remember me. I met you at 1:21 in the morning in Poughkeepsie. You were so great. You're amazing. Hey, I'm going to be in New York next week.
Yeah.
Where can I work? It's like, I'm fucking work. How am I going to quit? I don't even know who you are. And you bring up, this is my favorite, is remembering people's jokes is the best. I hate to break it to you. I don't remember my jokes after the end of the
Right.
show. I don't remember what the fuck I said. People are like, hey, you remember you said that? I have no clue. Let's do some more Jameson.
Well, dude, when
Like,
when
what
I
are we
was,
doing, baby?
yeah, when I was starting out in New Orleans, there was maybe 15 comics total in the city. And only like 7 of us actually gave a shit.
Right.
The rest were like older, you know, school teachers or like businessmen who just had a hobby and they
Right.
liked being part of it. But there was 2 guys in the city who were like road dogs.
Yeah.
By that rationale, meaning they did, fucking super mega sea-level rooms or
Right.
one-nighters and didn't make enough to make a full-time living off it. But they lived in New Orleans because it's an easy place to live.
And they were gods to us at that point. These
At
guys
that
are on
point,
the
right.
road. You're just
We
like,
had them
they're
too, yeah.
doing it. They're doing what I want to do.
But the thing was, like, so I never had a mentor, but I had a lot of anti-mentors, if that makes sense.
Absolutely, dude. What's
know what I
more
mean?
important?
Hilarious.
Yeah.
It's so funny you say that
You know what I'm
because
saying? Like,
what's more important than people showing you what and how to do it are the people that show you how not to ever fucking do it.
exactly. And
Yeah.
we had and we had a guy, and like I hope he's out there doing well. He was a sweet enough man, but he had this theory that he preached to all us younger comics that at the time we were like, oh yeah, man, I get that. But now I thoroughly disagree with it is, and the idea is whoever gets to the door first holds it open for everyone else.
Oh,
How is that important?
Meaning, like, if you break first,
right.
Oh.
He's saying
you
you
hold
gotta
the
be,
door so all your friends can get in.
right. You
and,
got to
like-
be Nelly, and the rest of us are the Saint Lunatics. Hold
Right,
the
it's
door
like-
open so we can get in.
Nah, because maybe back then, but nowadays, like, man, it's so fucking hard to open a door on your own.
Yeah.
That, like, so my take on that now is like, if I get to the door first and open it, I'll leave it unlocked, but I'm not going to
That's
stand
right.
here. I'm not going to stand here and hold it for you.
And nobody
like-
held it open for you, right?
Nobody
So-
fucking held it open for me.
That's
and
right.
and I'm still not. I'm still I've got keys now. Let's say that I've got keys, but for the most part, a lot of these doors, I'm still trying to figure out which fucking key it is.
Yo,
Yeah, at
bro,
any point, somebody
You
could
know?
open a door, look at you, and go, "What the fuck are you doing in here?" And then you're
Exactly.
out. Yeah,
It's like it's so fucking hard to get anything these days. It bothers me. Like we're all fucking hustling. Like I get like friends of mine who are civilians. I like to call
Right.
them
I love
Right.
it. It's the
civilians.
best.
You know, yeah.
Goddamn civilians.
Who like make fun of me because my average wake up. My average like my clock is probably 1 p.m.
right.
to 4 a.m., 5 a.m. That's like my window of life. And I get so many friends who are like, "Oh, it must be nice." I'm like, you don't have to bark at fucking drunks.
Yeah.
At 2:30 in the morning. Sometimes that's where I'm at. And I want to be there. Like I just got my set, Esty sends us our sets on Tuesday. And
Right.
like this weekend, I've got two, not one, but two 2 a.m. spots.
Because Sean's an absolute beast, and he probably no one likes being the late night guy.
Yeah.
When Shirley was in town, he told me that because I was hosting a lot of late nights.
Yeah.
But it is a gift. Sean is so good in
Yeah.
general,
Well,
but
thanks,
late
bud.
night with drunks, no one wakes them up and challenges people more. And like you were saying in the intro, it's so fun to watch him. But yes, that's why his hours are like this. But it's an absolute treat to watch a late night Sean Patton
Well,
set.
thank you.
It's just the
No,
fucking
I remember watching him going, I hope this fucking guy talks back to him. Like I can't wait. I can't wait to see what Sean's gonna do next. This
I mean,
guy's
thanks.
best bet is to fall asleep on the table right
best. Yes.
No, I mean, thank you. But I mean, like, we all love doing it, but I just, it's such a, and like, you talk about bombing too. So like right nowadays, I feel like comedy's gotten to this point where people are almost looking at it as like I know when I told my parents I wanted to be a comedian, I remember the moment, I remember the fucking reaction. And it wasn't like, what are you, stupid? It was a very like, my dad just being like, all right. I mean, that your life's going to be a series of long shots.
Yeah,
and
that's,
like,
that's nicer than my dad. My
Yeah,
dad, my dad put his hand on my shoulder and said to me in his Israeli accent, "I've seen this movie before," and he goes, "And the hero dies in the end every time."
It's the greatest your
that's
dad quote
fucking-
ever.
Yeah,
Oh, that's great. That's your
Yeah.
opener.
yeah, right.
That's fucking great.
So
Mine
yeah,
was
they're
good luck,
black and
stupid.
they're, listen, they were black and white. They're like, we're in Vegas. Why aren't you working a casino job? That
Exactly,
made no
and-
sense to them.
And you should be telling people you're biracial then.
I am.
Black and white parents.
You'd have 3 sitcoms. But
Yeah.
so you're saying your parents gave that reaction to you.
My parents gave a
They
very
were
like,
realists. They
they
were
were
real.
very like, okay, fine, get it out of your system kind of shit.
right.
They
right.
they didn't stand in my way, but they were like, all right, fine. It's only expected. He's dropped out of school 3 times now.
right.
Why wouldn't
It's a
he try
phase. It's the
Right.
next phase in Sean's
And I was,
life.
and I was
It's an
20.
earring.
Right. I was 22 years old. I was just like, fuck it. But I think now a 22-year-old could say that to their parents, and even their parents would be like, well, okay, so you got to move to New York or LA. You got to work on a writing packet. You got to get your Netflix half hour. Like there's a map.
Right.
To people who don't, people think there's a map to success in comedy now.
Oh my God, there's too much encouragement now.
There's too much encouragement.
Is that wild? I want to be a comic. Good for you, honey. No, you should tell me to get a fucking job.
Right. Yeah.
I remember going to set up one of the open mics in town one night with the amp and the mic. I'm loading it in my Ford Tempo, and my dad comes out and says, "Your brother thinks you should get an agent." And I'm like, first of all, my brother's an electrician, number one. So I don't know why we're taking show business advice from him. And number two, what's an agent going to get out of me? I'm making $40 at Boomer's Bar and Grill at the end of the night for an open mic. You want me to give somebody 10% of that?
I mean, there are some agents out there who'll be like,
"Hey, take it."
Definitely take $4.
Absolutely. But they like what I'm saying is, like, you hit it right on the head. There's a blueprint now. You can Google how to be a comic, and those will come up as far as the steps. Nobody knew shit when we started. Everybody, get an agent. You've been doing it 2 hours. How are you not represented?
I mean, I feel like comedy is, but I mean, like, I'm not too disheartened by it, but it is just annoying. But because I feel like comedy is hit now where music landed in the mid 90s, where now you're going to have a lot more one-hit wonders, if that makes sense. Now you're going to have a lot in comedy. You're going to have a lot more like bands who like Seven Merry Three.
Right. Fine Young Cannibals.
Yeah, who like they get a
cumbersome.
hit.
You went with cumbersome.
I'll drop cumbersome. They'll have their one sort of hit. They'll be able to play it. They'll be doing casinos in Biloxi.
Yeah,
if that, and like that's fine, because that's all those bands ever wanted. You could a lot of those bands, you could tell, never thought about like, what are you trying to do or say with your music? They're just like, nah, man, we're going to be rockers,
right?
And I think you're getting that. It's like, fine, you're going to get a lot more copycats, a lot more one-hit wonders. There's going to be a lot more bands that you've never heard of that have, or comedians that have cult followings, and that's great. It's like one door closes, another opens type shit. Because it does get fucking annoying when you see how many people like show up in New York and then make the announcement on social media like, "Hey, I'm here.
Yeah.
Anyone want to put me on your shows?" It's like, who the fuck are you? There's already 1,000 of us here.
Right.
You know what's even funnier now?
Earn this.
Now that there is like a blueprint. Yeah. Because like a parent would be like, well, you got to put out social media. You know what's funny is to see like comics that are young that you see like twice a year. And you've never seen that. They always bomb and bomb hard. But there's 30 seconds of crowd work that might work or isn't horrible. And they put it out and end up getting thousands of likes. And it looks like they're doing well. And you're like, I've never seen this motherfucker hit a punchline.
Yeah, dude.
How funny is that? People are like recording their bombs and getting a career of 30 seconds of not bombing is bad. Well, it's the most hilarious. I mean, if that was the case, we'd be doing this in a fucking 5-bedroom right now with an actual built-in real studio. Dude. Can you imagine the shit that any of us have gone through bombing to put if you could put that shit out?
Well, I mean, that's why I don't necessarily agree that the current model of just like pumping out, like when you got a guy like Sam Morrill putting out weekly clips. Well, Sam's a fucking beast.
Great comic.
Sam's been at it for years. Sam's a hard worker. Sam's the exception to the rule. He's great. But then for every Sam Morrill, you've got, I don't even know what the number is of people just who are just like content. And my personal opinion with this is you're gonna train an audience to think that's all you got. So when you actually put something out there that's worth a while, they're like, I don't need to watch this guy. I've been seeing his 20-second clips for 2 years now. I know what this is already.
Yeah, I mean, if it could work like that, then there'd be tons of meme artists headlining all across the country.
Quality always outdoes quantity, in my opinion. But
and that's the other thing I was going to say. There's an oversaturation factor there, where it's just like people, you kind of want. What's the saying? You leave them wanting more. If you expose and show them every single thing, what else you got? You got to keep one-upping and sharing every single thing about your life. And it's like, the mystery's good sometimes, man. It's actually better for you.
Certainly. Whenever my biggest advice to young comics always, because this is fucking for real, man. for years, you get younger comics when I'm on the road. They ask very comedy questions, like,
Right.
you know, writing style, like how do you write, or
Right.
how much should I be getting on stage, shit like that. It's like, oh yeah, I'm always, I'll sit down for fucking hours. I'm that guy 1,000% over. The young comics that come to a show and I'm on the road, you guys want to fucking jab a jaw about the craft? Let's do it. Let's fucking
I'm the same way.
Post
James
up.
is the same.
We're going, get it.
Yeah.
Fucking cancel your plans. Call your significant other. Tell them you're not going to be home for a while, or tell them they got to come pick you up because you're not going to be able to drive. We're getting hammered and we're talking about this shit.
I love
Clock
talking.
in, motherfucker.
but
It's time
then-
to go to work.
Right. But then every now and again, like my most recent one was in Sacramento. I had a young comic just be like, so which club pays more, the stand or the cellar?
Oh.
I'm like, I'm not answering this question. But then I was like, no, I'm going to answer this question. I was like, I mean, dude, it depends. But like, you know, you usually make about 1,000 between the two, which is
That's-
bullshit.
that's
Now
right.
I'll just
So
lie
great.
to kids. I'll be
Right.
like, you know, the stand will usually do about 500 a set. And the cellar, depending on what night of the week it is, 800 to $1,000, just to give them the wrong information, because that's the wrong fucking question.
Yeah.
That's the
Right.
wrong question. 18-month into comedy, motherfucker, and you know who you are. Like, that's the wrong question. If you're in this for spot pay at 18 months into comedy, go be a goddamn anything else. Go do
Hey.
anything else, because it's about money. Like, this is about, yes, money's important. We all want to make it. I hate that fucking point too, when you start talking about how you shouldn't be about money and people are like, but you got to make a living. No shit.
Yeah.
You will make a living if you are good. Be about
Right.
being good first. And
Right.
I tell young comics all the fucking time, I'm like, embrace the bombing.
Oh,
Embrace it. In fact, try it. Like, try for it. Like, aim for it. Like, don't get up there and try not to be funny, but take that crazy idea that only makes you and a handful of people laugh and just commit to it. And understand going in, it's probably not going to work, but lean in even harder, because that's where you're going to see what you're made of.
And not only that, that's where, and it's fantastic advice, because you really earn your stripes as a comic when you're and also for me, like at the beginning, which I'm sure is for the same for a lot of people, there was that fear of just getting on stage, just standing there and looking into what maybe was a crowd, what was a handful of people. It didn't matter. It felt like 5,000 people, but you realize after your 4th, 5th, 6th, 10th time going up, it doesn't bother you anymore. And that's where you got to get with bombing, because if you can make bombing funny, you can make anything funny, right?
Well,
And
it's like, yeah, it's not, and nobody likes it. Nobody wants to bomb.
nobody, right?
But bombing is, it's almost like bombing is, I mean, what's a good fucking analogy here? Because like, if killing is like your best, you know, because that's also another thing you got to think about too. Like, killing takes different forms. I've seen dog shit, worthless comedians destroy a room, if that makes sense.
Oh,
Where
sure.
people are just like, wow, but they're up there doing, you know. I remember I don't give a fuck. I was at one of the worst clubs I've ever been to in the fucking world, the Baltimore Comedy Factory. I mean, just fucking dog shit.
Right.
But they had a house MC. I'm sorry, house feature.
A house
Oh.
Not a
pizza.
house MC, a house feature.
The middle
Never
act's
heard
the
of that.
same every time.
Exactly. This dude was very proud of that.
It's the worst
Yeah.
business model I've ever heard in my fucking life.
And
Awful.
he would go out there every night, and dude, it was fucking tough. But he would go out and he would murder, like mercilessly fucking murder. But he was doing Bernie Mac.
No.
It was like, this is Bernie Mac style, delivery, and probably some of his material. It was Bernie Mac. But you're like, okay, fine, but that's murdering the room. By that same rationale, though, I've seen titans of comedy bomb, but also kill in a different way. Like, sometimes killing, you can tell people are dying laughing, but not, what's the way to say it? Like, in a way where they're almost like, fuck, I'm personal about this. Like, you're
Right.
talking about some real shit. Like, I'm laughing. This is hilarious, but I feel a little weird if I'm going, to this bit about your abortion beliefs. I'm instead going to be a little like, oh, fuck, I agree. And that's hilarious. But I'm playing this laughter close to the chest.
It's a great Dice quote from The Day the Laughter Died, where he just says, "It's not about laughter, it's about comedy." And
I think
always
it's a great quote. Yeah,
I
dude.
always love that. You don't need to laugh to enjoy comedy. That's what he says as he's bombing for an hour and a half.
That's what I tell myself when I get on the train every night. But
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah,
Well,
I mean,
but if you do this long enough, or even not even that long enough, like if you just really do this, you can tell when something's funny, you can
not
tell
only
when
that,
something's killing without killing, if that makes sense.
and not only that, you can tell when you're about to, as we used to say, thanks for coming out, when you're about to eat a shit sandwich, because when that guy is killing on stage with Bernie Mac's act, you're sitting back there going, I don't have a chance in hell.
No
I'm
chance.
original. I'm writing material. And these guys are laughing at this shit.
Brutal.
I'm in
That
the
was
hole coming out.
one of the most brutal. So my top.
What
my
up,
top-
everybody? Want to talk to you about our sponsor on Thanks for Coming Out. I know these people well. They are an amazing company. They are out of Iowa, the best friggin' corn-fed Midwest beef you ever had in your goddamn life. Rustic Cuts, my friend. Don't worry, they got grass-fed too, if that's how you roll. They got it all. Ground beef, steaks, burgers, sliders. It never ends. And every single thing they have is delicious. I've tried it all. And you don't have to be locked into buying these big packages. You can pick whatever you want from their website, rusticcutscb.com. That's rusticcutscb, like cbradio.com. You go on there, you pick out whatever meats you want, you type in the promo code SHULI, you get 10% off your order. Order something, try it. You can't screw this up unless you just leave it on there overnight. All the meat is aged 21 days. You know what that's going to cost you to get at a steak place? Night on the town, babysitter, parking. Forget about it. Order it. Get it right to your door. Make it yourself. Feed it to the missus. And when she tastes this meat, deal closer, baby. Mariano Rivera coming out the bullpen. It's a wrap. So check out Rustic Cuts. rusticcutscb.com. They're the sponsor for Thanks for Coming Out. And we want to thank them for coming out. And make sure you use the promo code SHULI and you'll get 10% off. Now,
So
back to the show.
my top 3 worst comedy clubs I've ever done were
Let's
that
hear it.
Baltimore Comedy Factory, the Laugh Stop at the Tropicana
Oh, yes.
in
Rest in peace.
and yeah, it's gone now. Thank
God.
fucking Christ.
Thank
That
God.
place was utter dog
Wait, did you say AC or Vegas?
AC.
Vegas.
I
AC.
didn't know
I
there
played
was,
the AC one.
Oh, okay.
oh, the
I
AC.
heard the one in
Yeah.
AC in the brochure. It said where comedy goes to die. That's what I heard it said in the
And it
pamphlet.
did. Yeah.
Dude, it was fucking like so the first time I ever do it, this is in 2011, right? And I was featuring, and at the time, my agent at the time was like, "Listen, this club is a hellhole. It's a lot of people don't like it, but you don't have anything that week. The pay is decent, and you know what? Hey, you're gonna earn your stripes, buddy." I'm like, "Yeah, fuck it, I'm down, And so Atlantic City to New York, not a far train ride. I get there. It's a full week that you're there. It was like a Monday through Thursday, 1 show a night, and then Friday, Saturday, 2 shows a night kind of thing, right? And you're staying in a condo. And listen, we all know all of the fucking tropes about comedy condos. Some of them aren't that bad.
Right.
You know, the Comedy Works in Denver's fucking amazing condo. The Zany's in Nashville, great condo. But
Yes.
then the fucking condo at the fucking Tropicana was like one of those like, this is what every shit story you've ever heard about a condo is based on.
Real quick.
Yeah.
You performed at a comedy club in a casino.
Yeah, they had a condo.
They didn't put you in the casino.
Nope, not in the casino.
That's a fucking hello red flag.
Not in the casino.
Are you
That is a
kidding me?
giant red
It
flag.
was-
Oh my God!
Yeah,
They
yeah.
won't even put you
Nope.
in their mediocre casino.
Nope. The headliner stayed there and the host stayed there. But for some reason, I had the condo, which is like 3 blocks away. Which that's the thing about Atlantic City. It is one of the most depressing places.
Oh,
on
it's
earth.
not fun. No.
And
Oh.
yeah.
I always describe Atlantic City this way. I go Vegas on the inside, Fallujah on the outside. It is.
I always made a comparison. I'm like, if Reno, Vegas, and Atlantic City were siblings, like Reno is the older one that got married, moved to the suburbs, and got a little into some weird religious shit and crystals. Vegas is like the middle child, the star. You know what I mean? The one that like got its shit together and like popped off big. And Atlantic City is the methed out, like amateur porn director sibling that shows up on holidays begging for money
with neck tattoos.
Yeah, and yeah, exactly. It's like
amateur porn director is one of the greatest sentences that's ever been said out loud. It's like really delightful.
SoundCloud porn actor, but like, yeah. So like that. So I'm featuring, and I Bob Kephart. That was the fucking guy who owned those clubs' names. I think he's dead now. R.I.P.
Yeah.
Like I remember. So I go do my first spot. It's a feature spot. It was like, whatever. It was fine. And then as soon as I get off stage, I go in the green room, and there's a manager waiting for me, and he's like, "Pick up the phone." I was like, "Oh, there's a phone in the green room," and I just pick it up. It's like, "Hey, Sean, Bob Kephart, the owner here. So I'm just gonna let you know. I watch I have a live stream to my condo. I'm watching all of the sets. I want to get your take on how that went just now."
Jesus
Christ. Right. And so
he's bringing you into the coach's office or run plays back.
So I was like,
seconds after doing it.
I'm talking, yes, dude. I'm the people are still recovering from how much my last joke didn't fucking hit. And so I'm like, well, I know I could have done better. I think, first night, but I think it was fine. And then there's a pause, and he goes, "I got to tell you, man, I've watched a lot of sets, and that was one of the worst ones I've ever seen."
Oh my God.
He's like, I'm not telling you this to get in your head or shake your confidence, but I gotta bring in a backup.
A backup.
He's like, so I'm bringing in. He's like, I'm bringing in another guy from Philly. You're gonna both feature tomorrow night, and I gotta just tell you now, I'm gonna take whichever one he has the better set. So
it's a quarterback controversy.
It's a business. He's like, it's a business. I got to do this. I'm like, yes, sir. Oh, I completely understand. Yes, sir. And I'm like, because I'm new. I'm fucking,
of course,
10 years ago. I like hang up the phone. I mean, new to like making money at comedy. So I'm like,
of course,
holy shit, I fucked up. So I like immediately just go to the bar, get hammered, wander. Dude, I end up like, I'm wandering around. I wandered around Atlantic City that night looking to get trouble.
Yeah.
I was like,
by the way,
take me down.
This is the mark of a true comic, right? A lot of you nerds listening will be like, well, I would get to writing right away. No, you go to the bar, you get fucking hammered to get that conversation you just had out of your goddamn head.
And I'm like, and it's almost like the city of Atlantic City was like, "Oh, did you bomb at the Comedy Stop? Give him a pass, bud. Let him walk. Let him go by, man. We couldn't inflict as much pain on him as he's feeling on.
We can't steal his phone tonight.
Yeah, we can't.
Maybe tomorrow when it goes better.
Poor guy's got a co-feature tomorrow. I love that he turned it into the Dark Knight where he just broke a pool cue and goes, "I only got one opening, boys."
Dude,
tryouts.
And I remember I called my agent the next day and I was like, and he's like, "I already heard. Listen, just do your best. Worst case scenario, he sends you home and they'll pay you for 2 nights. No big deal." So the next night, that's the other thing too. When I get there the next night and I get there early and I'm like coffeeed up, I'm caffeine up, I'm fucking, what I'm saying? I've been mentally shadow boxing for hours at this point. I'm like fucking ready. And I meet the other feature and he's the fucking nicest dude, young guy, just like almost like a carbon copy. We're like the same guy. We're both like 30-year-old fucking comedians. She's from Philly. I'm from New York. He's like, "Hey man, how's it going?" I can tell he's also weirded out because he's probably been told like, "Listen, you got to come in and save us from this fucking guy." But I can only.
Oh my God.
So, but that night, and they let the MC's like, "Who wants to go first?" And I'm like, "I'll go first."
Smart move.
I'll go first.
The smartest move. If you're fighting for the job, smart move.
And we were both doing 15, so I was like, "I'll go first." And I went out and just like I had dug deep, and I think every comedian who's been doing this for a while, you have these bits that you don't love. Right. But are like the survival bits.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? It's the stand-up comedy version of drinking your own urine. You're like, this, I'll survive if I do this.
Which is a casino, especially Atlantic City. Yeah. When I play Borgata, I'm doing half the set of stuff that I particularly would love to forget that I even know how to say. But I know it will get me through the fucking week.
It's the donut tire in the back of your car, right?
And
you look like a fucking asshole. You look like you fucking can't afford a car, but it'll get you even on the highway if you need. You know what I mean?
You gotta stay in the right lane, but you'll be all right. You gotta stay at 70, but guess what? The audience is also at 70. If you know what I mean.
That's right.
But years of age. So I just like fuck it. So I do that, and I have like this unexpectedly good. It's like very good, right? I'm like, oh shit. And so
in
the
your
same
head,
thing.
are you walking off going, follow that motherfucker?
Yeah, you like Jordan.
Well, no, but I'm in my head. I'm walking off going like, I went down blaze of glory at least, and same exact thing. I get off the phone, I get off the stage, same manager. He's like, and this time it's a different attitude. This time he's like, hey man, hey, good set, man. Oh, sorry, Bob wants to talk to you. Different, whereas the night before he was just like, pick up the phone. But tonight he's just like, hey, Bob wants to talk to you.
Sean, offensive coordinator here. I'm gonna put you on with Bob. Hold on.
Yeah, so I get on the phone with Bob, and he's just like, all right, man, that's what I'm talking about. Nice turnaround. So let's see how Greg, the guy's name was Greg, now I remember this. Like, let's see how Greg does, and I'll let you know.
Unbelievable.
And as soon as like I hang up, I hear like explosive laughter. Like Greg,
Oh,
like
no.
I did really good. Greg was murdering.
You set the table for him, is what
Right.
you did.
Well, and luckily the host said the same thing. The host, you guys know the host, I believe, because you're Vegas dudes. It was a motherfucker named Cork Proctor. Do you guys know?
I know the name.
Yes.
What remind me who he
So-
is, James?
Cork was in his like 70s.
Oh
right?
yeah, okay.
And he didn't so much have material as it was just like paternal advice. So I remember his bits because I would watch his set in tears laughing because I thought it was so funny because he'd get up there and he'd be like, all right, folks, I don't do this filthy comedy, but let's try it tonight. Let's all say the F word together.
No.
Foreclosure.
Oh,
Yeah,
my
folks,
God.
when you buy a home, you got to buy when and you got to pay your bills, pay your mortgage, and that way you can have a place to raise your family.
I think he's
Anyway.
a Comedy Zone type guy, right?
Well,
I
he was
think
he was a
went around those.
crowd work guy from Vegas from the 70s.
Mhm.
So he had a show.
That name's the worst.
There was
No,
like a
that's-
he was a warm-up guy on a short-lived Bob Newhart talk show.
Okay.
You could find this clip. He does a spot on the show, and he actually does crowd work on his TV spot.
God bless him.
It's fucking. But anyway, long story short, they end up keeping both of us for that week.
And then does the money
nice.
get shrunk?
Money doesn't get shrunk. We both only have to do 15. It was actually all right.
And then you got to drink it, buddy.
Yeah, and then I had that guy to drink with because the headliner, nice enough dude, but he was just going out there doing glorified street jokes. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like, and just murdering with them, just glorified. But they were all like, "Yep, I remember hearing this when I was in the 9th grade." But his version is a little more animated, so murder it.
It's so
And-
funny you bring up like being so new that you just go with everything because you don't know and you don't want to fuck anything up. You don't have a lot of stages, so
Yeah,
you just kind of. And I remember at the Greek Isles one night in Vegas, that was my home club in front of 12s of people a night, and it was ran by Sandy Hackett, Buddy Hackett's son.
oh shit.
And he's up there on stage one night, and I hear him do this joke, and I'm like, I had to be like, I don't know, I would say a year into it, maybe less. And I hear him do this joke, and in my head, I'm going, I know I've heard that joke somewhere before. And it wasn't his dad's. He did a lot of his dad's jokes too, but it was like a joke that I'd heard someone do in a special or something. And he comes off stage, and this is how new I was. I asked him about it, like not knowing that you shouldn't be like, hey, where the fuck that joke come from? So I go, hey, that one joke you did, I could have sworn I heard it somewhere. And he just looks at me and he goes, oh yeah, it's from Leno's monologue. And I go, oh, and I legitimately look at him and I'm like, oh, we can do that, right? And he goes, why not? They're only going to do it once. The
I mean,
joke
think
only
about
has
that.
one go round.
Wow.
How about when you told him a Bill Hicks bit? Do you remember this?
So he sits me down one night after a show and he goes, your pot stuff is really funny. He goes, you got to really develop that more, think about other bits involving pot. He goes, what about like Driving Stone? And I go, oh, Hicks has the best Driving Stone bit. And he's like, what is it? And I do the whole bit for him. And when I'm done, he goes, you should do that.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
And I go, yeah, it's Hicks's bit. And he goes, yeah, he's not doing it anymore.
Think about that. Is that the
Dude.
most cold-blooded show business
Dude.
statement of all
Dude.
time?
Well, you know,
That's from all time.
his dad, he comes to his dad at 18 and he goes, hey, I'm going to do stand-up comedy. And his dad, Buddy Hackett, says, great. What name you going to use?
Wow.
Yo, that's so wild.
And he's like, I was Sandy Hackett. He's like, no, you're not.
Dude.
He's like, I've worked my whole life to make my last name synonymous
Right.
It's funny, and you're not funny yet, and you're not going to ruin that.
That I mean, like that respect. You know what I mean? Respect on top. Of
That's
respect
old
for that.
school. That's old
Yeah.
school, right?
Can you
there.
imagine if Bronny James goes like in the second round of the NBA draft, and his dad's like, "Yeah, you got to be Bronny Smith now. You got to until you make an All-Star game. You can't use James."
Dude, that's I mean, fuck, bro. Like that's just such a hearing that. That kind. You see, because club. That's another thing when you get.
But
these
that
club
goes back
owners.
to what you were saying about the
Yeah.
people who teach you what not to do. He
Yeah.
was a great mentor for me. Number one, he gave me stage time when nobody else would in that town. But more importantly, I learned from him and the other comics working with him exactly what not to do in comedy.
Right.
The lessons.
That's I mean the anti mentors. Because like also man like that I've had so many like another club I fucking despise and I don't give a shit.
Sean's
you know?
the best.
Burn bridges, man.
Sean's the fucking
burn
we do late
bridges
nights.
so you have rooms to you got the space to build more.
Yeah,
You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
and meanwhile, you're not
Sometimes
burning a
bridges
bridge.
don't work.
You're not burning a bridge of a place you want to go back to. So it doesn't even fucking matter.
The Hyenas Comedy Club in Fort Worth, Dallas,
Okay.
Fort Worth, Texas. That place, I mean, you talk when I did it. It could have changed since I've done it. Now I did it back in like 2012. Airplane hangar of a goddamn room.
Yeah.
They could still smoke indoors, and every night, right, before the headliner set, the host would bring up everyone in that audience whose birthday it was that night.
Oh my God, I hate it.
So
It's the
some,
worst.
some shows it was 1 or 2 people. One show it was 14 people,
Oh my god.
and they all come on stage and they all individually do a blowjob shot.
So what is that? 15 minutes sometimes?
I mean, that one time was probably half an hour, maybe more.
How
And
the
then
fuck are you supposed to headline doing stand-up after
Well,
that?
because that's one of those clubs that has the idea, like society was ruined when 2 things happened. 2 ideas came into play. One, whatever generation, I think it was the greatest generation, the idea of, I just don't want my kids to have to struggle like I did.
Right.
So I will make it easier on them. That ruined every generation after us. Them.
That's right.
Because it's like, no, the struggle made you a success and a real human being.
Yeah.
The struggle is what it's all about at times, and you fuck that up. Secondly, when businesses started with the idea of give the customer what they want, they're always right. Fuck
They're
that.
always right.
That shit
Fuck
is
that.
that has destroyed so much about society in itself. It's created Karens, it's created Yelp, it's created all that bullshit, and especially at comedy clubs where people are like, "Well, it's just a business." And you're like, "Well, fuck you. You provide a great enough product to be like Comedy on State, the Acme Comedy Club, Cellar, like they all Comedy Cellar, obviously they all ride with the same fucking idea, which is no audience. We're not going to give you what we want, what you want. We're going to give you what we want.
Right.
And you're going to like it because what we want is great shit on the stage.
Right.
And that is what you need.
Right.
We're not
And-
going to give you. Yeah. And like,
and
so that-
odds are more people are going to like that than not like it. So they're going to be just fine with it. And if you don't go.
And every single one of these clubs, I've seen people walk out or complain about shit. And the reaction is always like, well, like name of this podcast. Thanks for coming. See ya. There's more audience out there.
Yeah.
And they love it. And they keep coming and they keep selling out the shows. So it's like, so for a club like, this, and like the idea of being like, we got to give they got to give them drink specials and you got to give them food to eat with forks. Fucking forks during a fucking show, and we gotta like make it all about them. No, fuck you. Fuck that. Anyway, Hyenas
It's literally
was all
the
about that
worst
shit.
thing you can do. It's literally the worst thing you can do is make it about them.
And I remember I did the owner. I can't remember his fucking name, Randy something or other, but he was just a Texas cowboy motherfucker. And he watches my first set, and I have a rough fucking set because I got to go up after. And I'm not saying Texas cowboy motherfuckers don't get comedy, but this particular Texas cowboy, we talked about Pantera. He picked me up at the airport, and we talked about Pantera
They're
the whole
still
ride.
living on Pantera.
But I'm like, all right, this guy might be awesome. The comedy club owner who likes Pantera. But of course, after my set, which I had a fucking rough set because I had to follow 6 blowjob shots,
Don't make a comic follow a round of shots that have
Right.
whipped cream. Fuck off.
Yeah, he decides the next
Whipped
day
cream.
that I need to work clean. He's like, "Hey, man,
no!
I think you went too blue tonight or last night. I just got to see you work clean tonight."
Did he at
man."
least go face to face, or did he?
No, it was a text.
I mean, I love how they act
Yeah.
like they're Charlie and Charlie's Angels
Yeah.
after this shit.
And like, I mean, I did as clean as I could, but it was just a god awful fucking weekend for everyone involved. And I'm also going to say, like, that was 2012. I was not as sure footed as I am, but like, it was just the circumstances were dog shit for me to be able. And it was, oh God, I could still feel the pain of like, how do you expect anyone to do well here in the headlining? And that's the other thing, like the feature would murder, and the feature was a nice kid. He was he was a funny dude, but he would murder because he was going up and he was doing very localized material.
Sure.
And he was doing very like shit that would work amazing in Fort Worth, Texas. And that's the thing. The feature spot I featured before, it is a stress-free zone.
It really is.
The feature spot is a almost guaranteed kill spot. It's an almost guaranteed
cruise control of stand-up show.
And like, if you are at all worth your salt, you will murder.
Yeah.
But I can always tell comics who don't know what the fuck they're talking about if they're features and they're like, yeah, I buried the headliner. It's like, oh, you don't understand how this shit works at all, man.
No.
Headliner's got to contend with drunker audience, check drop midway through their spot, which takes away all the attention. So imagine that. Imagine whatever you're doing, whatever career you have, there's a moment that is guaranteed to happen, not at the end of your fucking job, but in the middle of it, that will, for anywhere from 10 seconds to 10 minutes, take the entirety of the audience's attention entirely away from what you're doing. Entirely. It doesn't matter how well you're doing, how fucking much they're laughing, how much you're murdering in that moment. They'll be like, ha ha ha, checks, ha ha.
That's the worst.
Yeah.
They all it's gone. It doesn't matter. They fuck. And now you like plow through it or stop. And I've done both. Whoa, I've done both. And neither one of them is fucking rewarding. You just got to ride it, you know? And like, so, but I'm not saying if you suck, you will murder as a feature. No. You still have to be a good fucking comedian to do well in the feature spot. Obviously, it's still about being good at comedy, but the feature spot is just infinitely easier.
Yeah.
Than the headlining spot.
It's the sweet spot of the bat, man. There's
not
no
infinitely, but definitely easier. And like, I've had so many features coming up because I was a younger headliner who just had a couple of TV credits, and you get these guys who are older than me, and I could just tell, like, yep, they're doing all their fucking A game because they want to put me to shame because I'm the new headliner, and they're still fucking bitter that I'm headlining at 33 and they're not. They're in their late 40s and they're still featuring, and that's not my fault. That's not my fault. But they're going to take it out on me. And
I mean,
here we go again. You know,
the feature and the host have to be together, synchronized in setting the table for the headliner, getting the crowd the best they can possibly be for that comic, for that person. So now you had, and this is another one I like when they come back before they bring you up, and they're like, so I talked to this table, I talked to this person, this one's really stupid, she said this, then I talked to, and it's like, I can talk to these people. You can just tell me somebody's got a weird laugh over here. You don't have to do 5 minutes with them. Like, I can talk to these people, or I can just figure it out for myself. But they're almost like overcompensating. You know what I mean? Like, they're just like, so I did this. I got this. This joke I don't think works. I don't think they're into this. And it's just like, hey, buddy, let me just go out there and figure some shit out.
I mean, featuring, like, I've had some great features over the years that have, like, you know, moved to New York, moved out, like, doing great. And like, I've had some fucking shit ones. I've also had, like, I personally don't think a feature should do much crowd work. Personally.
What about merch?
I'm all right with merch.
You're okay with that?
Because I don't sell merch. I'm usually not a merch guy.
I don't
like,
either. So I'm with
got
you.
merch. And I also am like, I'm usually getting headliners getting paid better. And I get, like, some of these clubs really just fucking rake the features over the coals, man.
Yeah.
So I'm like, if you got shit to peddle, do it, man. Like, I know I'm getting paid more. So, and I know you're getting $100 a show and no hotel.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but man, it is hilarious though that you got to go headline, and the last 5 minutes of someone's bit is setting up a fucking frisbee. It's like wild. Like, that's the whole close is just to sell fucking frisbees.
Who was the guy? Who was the comic who used to sell the flaming wallet? Remember him?
Tom Dustin, baby.
Yeah, dude.
Oh my god.
But Tom's one of those guys who, you're like, even he's a guy I love Tom.
Yeah,
but
he's a good dude.
He's a good dude, but even he'll tell you like that flaming wallet had nothing to do with his act at all.
Right.
It was just like he knew a guy who made these things.
But
he
he
could
made
make money.
bank. He made
Yeah.
bank with it. He
Yeah.
literally wrote one bit for it and just cashed in after it.
And Tom's one of these guys who was like, you know what I'm good at? Featuring, like you said, setting the table. So he went and opened up a club.
Yep.
In Key West.
Yeah.
Do you know that?
No, that's a good place to go.
Yeah, Key West, Florida. Never been.
Let's go.
Let's do it.
Nice.
Let me host for you, so I can do the crowd work and get away with it.
You see, like the way you do crowd work is you do crowd work to set up material.
I try.
And that's the key where you're still going to ask questions, but then you're going to do a bit. My problem with a lot of people who just do crowd work is 80% of crowd work is just repeating whatever they just said
It's the best.
with a different inflection.
Right,
So you're like,
right.
it's like, where y'all from? Like Oklahoma, and then that
And then
murders.
on to the next one. Tennessee.
Yeah, it's like, what do you do for a living? Construction. Let me guess, laying pipe.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, it's very, and like, but when you get a feature that gets out there and does just that for 25 minutes,
Rough.
you come out there and you're like, oh, you guys don't want to hear ideas, material, none of that shit. You just want to hear, like more about you. You just want to hear more like, oh wait, what is? But then usually in 25 minutes, you've worked the entire fucking room.
And there's nothing
Right.
left for you.
You're not going to get any more information. I'm like, hey, tell me your deepest, darkest secret. What's your social security number? How many times have you failed at something before you succeed? Do you still love your wife? You can't go into that level of crowd work. And I would respect the motherfucker who did.
That's the way to open.
I love
Hi,
the
everybody.
idea. I love the idea of you walking out. And I've had this. You walk out on stage, and there's literally somebody at a table pointing at their friend, like you just got on stage, and they're like, "Goof on them, goof on them."
Oh yeah.
And
yeah.
it's just
Or,
like,
or when they're like, it's his birthday. And you're like, you want me to roast someone who I don't fucking know? I know nothing about except appearances,
yeah,
which has been covered at this point.
exactly.
You know what I mean? And like, but I've had a lot of audience, and I mean, I'm fortunate this way, but like anyone who comes out to see my shows generally tends to be someone who likes comedy.
Right.
So I've had audiences turn on those people before in the audience as well.
Thank God.
I've had people in the audience be like, shut the fuck up. Or like, I didn't pay to hear about your life, bro. To the
Nothing better.
to the
It's
guy
like-
who keeps heckling. And you're like, oh, well, there you go. You know?
That's like for you civilians out there, that's the equivalent of someone trolling you on Twitter and then they block you once you go after them. You know what I mean?
Well,
Like,
yeah.
yeah.
Well, there's also the idea, like the people who are like, well, but you're a comedian. You should be able to handle it. And like, oh, I fucking can.
Yeah.
Believe you me.
You're the
I'll
one that's
handle
not
it.
going to be able to handle this shit.
But what it just sucks when you're supposed to do a thing and it's like you're showing up to cook a meal and someone keeps dipping their fucking hands in the ingredients.
Yeah.
You're trying to make a stir fry and they keep grabbing
Get
hands
your
full of
fingers out of the
vegetables.
fucking sauce.
Like, I'm gonna give me 2 fucking seconds and it's gonna be amazing. But no, you're gonna sit there and keep you're eating raw chicken right now. You want that? You want that? Fuck it, have it. You know, I'll make this for the other. We'll just do a veggie. We'll do a veggie only for everyone else paying attention.
It's hilarious.
But yeah,
Listen, I know you
Yeah.
got a heart out today, but before you go, and I'd love for you guys, I'd love for you to come back.
absolutely.
Because we barely scratched the surface of bombing. We've talked shop, and I love it, and this is great. Give me one of your best bomb stories before you leave us today. I gotta hear a Sean Patton bomb story.
Oh yeah.
I mean, dude, I got. I'm the Rolodex.
Is there one down south?
Oh,
I was intrigued with bringing you on because there's no clubs in New Orleans, so I have a feeling like you and Norman, all those guys would have to get in cars to travel hours for some middle of nowhere, fucking rough gigs. To me, that was something that excited me.
So we're gonna go early. We're gonna go. We're gonna go early. We're gonna jump back to like I want to say early 05. It was early 2005 because it was pre-Katrina. I remember that.
Okay.
So myself and my buddy, a guy I started with, right? I don't think he's still doing it, but he was a good dude. So we're New Orleans comics. We drive up to Ruston, Louisiana, right? Which
sounds rural.
northern Louisiana. And the thing about northern Louisiana is that it is it's more Texas than it is Louisiana.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
They hate southern Louisiana in Ruston. Ruston is also where the University Louisiana Tech is. So it's a college town, but it's also a dry county.
Oh,
So like that booze can be served, but it can't be sold. That's
Right.
basically what a dry county is. See what I'm saying? So you can buy booze at restaurants, you can buy, but there's bars. You can drink in these places, but under no circumstances will you find a place to buy a bottle of booze or a 6-pack of beer. You have to go to a restaurant or a bar. So I don't even know how the fuck this gig got set up, but it was in the ballroom of a hotel on the outskirts of town. So my buddy and I drive up to, I mean, it's a long drive. It's maybe 4 hours. We drive up there. They give us hotel rooms. That was really nice. And then we do the show. So it's one of these audiences where I don't even know. And I wasn't even closing. I was only going. I opened the show.
Right.
We had a local comic come out and host. and
Parentheses for everyone listening to the audio.
Right.
Yes, local comic parentheses, and it was the most wonderful amount of shade in it. I love it.
Because you know what I mean. It's like the guy who, like, I think it was the guy who set the gig up. He's like, yeah, I'll open, and he's like, I'll go up and do like 20, and then you come up and do 30, and you do it up and do 30. We're like, great, that sounds great. And then he does about 6.5 minutes.
Jesus.
Right.
Because you know what I'm saying, and like maybe that much, and it's all just like, so man, go Bulldogs, right, or whatever, Rustin fucking. Right? I mean, man, if I was
How many of us are not drinking out there tonight?
Yeah, exactly. Man, I tell you what, right now, man, I hump enough legs, I should be a bulldog. Right?
No.
Right? But it's doing like decent because he's able, you know, those comics can always kind of get by on like what local shots they can take.
Sure.
Right.
Like, where's this guy from? Myrtle Ave? You know, that's in Brooklyn. But, you know what I mean? Like, oh, this guy over here looks like he lives in Windsor Terrace, also in Brooklyn. I'm just using Brooklyn
I have an
reference.
ex-girlfriend there. Yeah.
Yeah. But that guy must have a house in Turtle Creek. You know, people are like, that is not a neighborhood in Brooklyn to my.
I don't.
Yeah.
But
But
they'll
anyway.
probably change some rough neighborhood at the Turtle Creek
Oh, yeah,
to sell
exactly.
an apartment there.
All
yeah.
of a sudden, Brownsville's
Yeah.
Turtle Creek in a few years. Anyway, so he goes up, and then I'm like, oh fuck, I'm going first because the only reason that is because the other guy set the gig up basically.
Right.
I was like, all right, I'll go first. So I go up, and it's one of these. So I remember my opening joke I used to have was a joke. I mean, I'm almost. Oh God, there's a show I want to do, but the only way to do it. This is a side note. The only way to ever pull this show off accurately is to get a hold of some truth serum and make comedians agree to take a shot of truth serum
Right.
when they perform, which is do bits from that first 5 years that make you cringe.
We talk about it all the time. We want to
We're
bring
obsessed
like
with it.
our old notebooks out and just
Dude.
go over old bit because there's bits that you look back on now, and it's like what was I thinking? What the
Yeah.
hell? What?
Bro,
And you thought it was your stairway to heaven.
Bro.
You thought it was your big bit.
I mean,
Okay.
I think I was a dog shit comedian until about 7 years in, if I'm being honest. Right?
That sounds about right to me too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was a physical loud guy. So I used to have long hair that I would wear back in a man bun before man bun was a fucking term. Right. And I didn't have a beard and I just had long hair. So this was during that era. And I had this fucking opener growing up in Louisiana. It was always hurricane season, you know,
Right.
even when it wasn't, but it is a hurricane. And this was during hurricane season. So I talked about hurricane. I was like, I'd had the opening bit about hurricanes. And I was like, man, but if it's a category 3 or less, it's great. You just go outside, the wind's blowing, the lightning, it's the rain. Just go out there and pretend like you're in a Creed video.
That's,
And,
I
and
actually think
then
that's wonderful.
I would whip back, pull my hair out, would fall down. I would whip back and just go like, with arms wide open. And I would do.
No.
Dude, right now, my asshole just jumped up into my throat. My testicles are now somewhere in my fucking sternum. Just thinking about it.
If you would have stopped at letting your hair down, I would have been like,
Dude.
this is bad. But then you started singing.
God
so
damn.
great. So
It's
great.
almost like this masochistic fucking enjoyment.
We
of how-
love it. We all
Yeah.
love it.
But that was a bit that back then was a guaranteed, like,
that hit.
It was a
that
closer.
it was an in-park home run to start the show. You know what I mean?
I love it.
It was just like, now and I was like, I'm going to open with this and absolute silence. So imagine
Oh no.
doing like because so there's something even like, and I was not a Creed fan, but Creed was all over the fucking airwaves back then. So doing a Creed impression was worth it back then for the laughter that would follow. It would immediately, like, even while doing a Creed impression, you were still like, oh, I hate everything about this, but this laughter is making me feel a little better. And to do it to absolute silence.
Oh, no.
So then I thought it would be funny in the moment to comment, because I was a big Eddie Izzard fan. I still am.
Sure.
But back then, Dressed to Kill, still one of my favorite specials. But he does this thing during Dressed to Kill where he's talking about going to the moon, and he's like, yes, we are measuring you on our instruments. We're currently viewing your progress on a tuba. Right? Just a dumb little joke. Right. And then he does the astronaut like, expected you to get a bigger laugh with that one, Houston. Right? And I love that, like, in the moment commentary shit. Yeah. So in the moment as Creed, I was like, that joke usually kills. I tried to like comment on it bombing in the Creed voice while still doing Creed, but to just more nothing. And it was the first time I remember that feeling of like, holy shit, this isn't bombing at a mic or a show in the city. This is bombing this is real. This is actual bombing.
Oh,
yeah. At a neutral site.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. And then it was just like, confidence is rocked. Everything's gone. And I made fun of the guy before me for only doing 6 minutes in a 20-minute set. I probably did like 19.
Yeah.
And I was supposed to do 30, you know, but I mean, I just limped my way through all of my fucking material. And it was bad. And I remember like, and we did it like tag team style.
Yo,
so
yeah.
I had to
so
bring
that
up,
guy's done already.
Yeah, that guy's already done.
He's in the clubhouse.
So I had to bring up the fucking, my friend who I remember as I'm bringing, and I guess I walk past him like, I'm sorry. And he doesn't do much better, of course, but it's like, is that even his fault at this point? Right?
No.
You know? So
it's great that you're just like fucking, I mean, 6 minutes bombing is an eternity. 19 minutes bombing is just like fuck me, man.
And then we hung out at the bar, because that was the other thing. You didn't have a lot of options for places to drink away this pain in a dry county. So we just stayed at the bar in the hotel, and it was a wave of people. I'm gonna say honestly, like, I didn't count, but in memory, it felt like at least 30 people who would come up and just be like, listen, boys, like, I mean, do you got a skill?
Oh,
what
no.
did you go to school for?
No.
I'm just saying. It was all a variation of like, hey, look, you guys, good luck. I appreciate you trying.
Oh my God.
Good Lord. I mean, my 4-year-old's funnier than both y'all.
Oh.
Like, I know. It became hilarious at a certain point.
Sure.
We were like, this is kind of funny now. This is like, so many people are coming up. And every now and again, you get like an old woman who's like, I thought y'all were really nice. I thought you were energetic and I enjoyed it. But for the most part, it was people. I remember one dude was just like, man, if either of you or my sons, I'd kick you out the house. I'd kick you out the house. I wouldn't let you back in the house. And we were both like, well, sir, we're both 26 years old. We live on our own. They're like, do you? You make money doing this?
Oh
you live on your own doing this?
Oh my God.
And we were like, well, no, but it's like, yeah, exactly. All right. I'm just saying, Jesus. It was like, oh, man. But this story has an addendum or a tail piece. So on the drive back the next day, right? Which from Ruston, Louisiana, back to New Orleans, you have to drive through Mississippi.
Okay.
See what I'm saying? You cut. It's direct.
Yeah.
So we're driving. My buddy who I'm with, he's broken by that. He was just so like, I hated the experience, but the next day I was sort of like, well, on to the next. He was not. He was very just the whole drive. He's just like, everything sucks. He's rethinking his life. I'm basically talking him off a ledge for the first 2 hours of the drive. And as that happens on the interstate, we hit a fucking bird, right? I'd never experienced this in my entire fucking life. Just like we're driving, it's like, whack, a bird just fucking hits the windshield, puts a crack down the middle. Like, holy fuck, what the fuck? But we keep driving. And I was like, dude, what the fuck is that bird? I was like, oh, man, he must have been at the show last night. You know, I'm trying to crack jokes. Right? I'm trying to fucking crack jokes about it. But he's just like, oh my God. He's one of those guys, was a very sensitive, animal-loving, super leftist.
Sure.
Like, oh my God, is it dead? I'm like, it's definitely dead. But
dude.
But we're driving. Like, that was fucked up. But we're driving, and so now I got to talk him off the ledge about bombing and then also about being a bird murderer. So then another hour goes by and the car dies, right? And now we're on side of the road somewhere between Laurel and Natchez, Mississippi. Like we're in the middle of fucking nowhere. Like I've got a couple bars on my phone, and this is brutal. This wasn't smartphone era. Remember, this was pre-Motorola Razr. This is like, oh fuck, man. The only good thing about those phones is the battery would last for 4 days. But so we're like, oh shit. So like we're out there for a minute just trying to figure out what the fuck to do. And then this guy like pulls up in front of us, and he gets out. I remember he gets out, and before he says anything to us, lets his dog, this beautiful fucking German Shepherd, lets his dog out to go. And he's one of these guys who the dog is so well trained. The dog runs into the woods on the side, uses the pisses, shits, whatever. It comes back and just sits. Right. You're like, all right, so this guy's either a psychopath or a dog whisperer. Right. But he comes over and he's like, hey man, what's wrong? And we're like, we don't fucking know. We're not like, we tell him the story where, he's like, hold on. And he like pops it and he does some diagnostic and he's like, I think it's your alternator, man. He's like, it seems like, and then he does this thing where he takes the battery out of our car and the battery out of his car. He puts his battery in our car and then puts our battery in his car and then starts the engine so he can charge our battery full.
What a man.
He's like, this will take about half an hour or so. So, we're like, yeah, great. Thank you. So we're just talking to the guy. His name's Dennis. Turns out he's a fucking nurse. Turns out he lives in like Hattiesburg or somewhere. He's got a commute. Just saw his mom. Super like an angel. Like the best possible case scenario. Like we could have been 2 fucking nude 25-year-old women ovulating and he wouldn't have touched us. You know what I mean? You could tell he was just one of these like
good dude.
One of these perfect moments of like, hey, we got the good guy. But while I'm talking to him, my buddy's like, I got to make this call. I got to call. He's got to call his girlfriend, tell her what's up. So he walks to the back of the car, right? And as I'm talking to Dennis, this guy's name, I get a call from my buddy, right? And he's like, hey, man, don't fucking say anything. Just find a reason to come over to where I am, please, right now. Please, right now. Oh, and he's standing behind the dude's car. He got like a I don't know, Ford Explorer or something. He's standing behind it. And I'm like, oh God, he found a body. He sees a body back there. Yeah. Or like a leg sticking out or something. I'm like, oh, fuck. So I'm just like, hey, man, I'm going to take a piss real quick. And he's just like playing with his dog. He doesn't mind. I go back to where my buddy's standing and he's staring at the ground, petrified. And he's pointing. He's like, what the fuck, man? And there's just a dead bird on the ground right there. Right. And this is an hour and probably 70 miles after we hit that other bird. So there's just this random dead bird behind the car. And he's like, it's a fucking omen, bro.
Oh my God.
It's a fucking omen, bro. I'm like, it's a coincidence.
A weird one at that.
It's a very weird one, but what do you think's about to happen? So he's just like, fuck, man, we got to get the fuck out of here. I'm like, well, guys, charging. He's like, we got to get the fuck. And then the guy comes walking around. He's like, hey, boys, I think we're good. And my friend just gets really freaked the fuck out and walks back. And I'm like, I'm going to clue you into what's going on here. So I just tell him the whole fucking story. And he's dying laughing.
Oh, my God.
He's just like, this is fucking insane. And my friend kind of lightens up. And he's like, man, you guys, you should tell that next time you go up to Ruston. You should tell that bit. I was like, we're never going back to Ruston. I'm never going back to fucking Ruston, Louisiana. But then we, drive home, and my friend on the road decides he's going to quit comedy,
just like that.
But I don't think he did right away. But yeah, it was a thing of like that bomb was so bad it broke one of us.
Yeah, dude, it's
and that happens, man. That like.
Wow.
Believe you me, man. This is just a side note. I know we got to get off to it. That's my fault. But like, there's a couple comics I know coming up who were fucking awesome, and probably still are awesome, who I saw bomb so bad that they just could never shake it. And we'll never know people never know who they are because the bomb just left such a deep scar.
Yeah.
That they're like, never again.
I'm going to say this. This is the early days of our show. As we're recording, we haven't released an episode yet. We're just backing these up. You are by far, that is the most thanks for coming out story on the short-lived show called Thanks for Coming Out. That is the most epitome of what Shuli and I have been talking about all these years. Yeah. It's unbelievable. And the fact that your buddy's out and you stuck and you've done as great as you're Sean motherfucking Patton. You've been name-checked on the Bill Simmons podcast, for Christ's sakes, that you survived that. It's unfucking believable.
I mean,
Bravo.
you got it. You got that's why I say embrace it. You know,
That's
'cause
right.
it's inevitable.
Right. Otherwise you quit.
Yeah.
Oh my
You better.
God.
Ladies and gentlemen, follow
Sean.
our guest Sean Patton on Twitter, Mr. Sean Patton. Is that the same on Instagram, bud?
Same on Instagram, and go to my website, me Sean Patton. Got dates constantly. Love to see you at a date.
Baby, that was a Mona Lisa you just painted
That's
of a
beautiful.
bomb story. That was unfucking. They should hang that in MoMA.
Hey, go support Sean. Give him a
We'll take it.
follow.
He's the best.
And thanks so much for doing this, man. You were fantastic. I loved
Thanks for
the
having me,
chat,
boys.
dude. Can't
I'm
wait
ready.
to have
I'm
you
ready
back.
to come back whenever. I got more.
Good. Good.
Just move in, Sean. Just
Yeah,
fucking move in.
I'll hang out in the Thanks for Coming studios.
That's it. Oh, we should
Yeah.
get that. I'm gonna make that flyer.
Yeah, let's do it. Sean Patton, everybody. Thanks for joining us on Thanks for Coming Out, a podcast about bombing.
Thanks
See
for
you guys.
coming out, guys. Playoffs.
All right, this was a good episode.
Fuck it.
Long story short,
He failed. God damn it. Yes,
Wait.
misery loves company, my boy.
thanks for coming out. Boom.
Thanks for coming out, baby. Thanks for coming out.
Thanks for coming out. Are we under attack?
Thanks for coming out. Fuck, that bad?
Thanks for coming out. I'm in. Thanks for coming out.
I can't even watch.
Yeah. All that was unprofessional.
Thanks for coming out, ladies and gentlemen. The bomb is the bomb, and it will always be that.